Hello, everyone. Scott Guile from Macmillan. Thank you for your time and your interest. We truly do appreciate the number of folks that sign up for these webinars. We plan on it taking about 20 minutes of presentation time today, and then we will address all questions and comments. Use either chat or QA. You should see those functions on your screen to communicate with us. We really do want this to be interactive. The more questions, the more comments we get, the happier we are, and hopefully the happier you are. We're thrilled today to be working with Nick Landmesser. Nick is from Hawkey College. I probably should have put that in the slide, but note to self. He is the program manager for the Learning and Academic Service Center. In that capacity, he manages campus tutoring. He coordinates the college orientation classes. He also teaches the college orientation classes. In his past and in his ongoing duties, he's worked as a retention specialist, and of course, he has a master's degree from Iowa State University, Hawkey College being, of course, as many of you probably guessed, in the state of Iowa. And with that, I will pass the ball to Nick and allow him to begin sharing his expertise as an instructor who has recently integrated our LaunchPad resource with the Canvas, what we call LMS. But when we call it an LMS, we get a lot of quizzical looks. So it's a learning management system, and it's Canvas. And if you're on this webinar, I assume you know exactly what Canvas does, and it is. So thank you again for your time. We look forward to addressing your questions. Nick, you should have control of the screen now.
All right, well, thank you, Scott. And hey, everybody, again, my name is Nick Landmesser, program manager here at Hawkey Community College. And Scott did a good job of introducing me here and kind of how my role fits in with what we're going to talk about here today. Some goals for today. Just kind of want to talk through how Hawkey College has embraced using LaunchPad and then how we integrated it with our Canvas learning management system. So just a little bit more about me, though, and kind of the angle I came to this. I've been teaching for over 8 years now, both online and face-to-face courses. This has been in addition to full-time responsibilities, more of an administrative role. I've been teaching at community colleges and universities, so just a lot of experience in the classroom, both face-to-face and with our online students as well. One of my main roles as the program manager here at the college is to oversee our college success courses, assisting students as they transition to college. So very much our first semester, first year freshmen. The course that I'm going to focus on today in my examples of how we used Canvas and then integrating it with LaunchPad is from our course we call our college experience. This is a one-credit hour.
This is Scott.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. You do need to share your screen.
Oh, that hasn't happened yet? I am so sorry.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Should be top left, share screen. There we go. Sorry to interrupt.
You got me now? Hey, no, I'm glad you did. I would have kept going and been none the wiser. So there we go. All right. So the college experience course is a 1-credit hour seminar course for our liberal arts students as they come into college. It's a 16-week course, 1 day a week for 50 minutes. I both teach this course. I teach 2 to 3 sections, and then I also oversee the committee that sets up the curriculum, what textbook we're going to use, as well as the topic areas we're going to cover and our speakers. So I get kind of a neat advantage with this course that I get to help set it up, but then I also teach 2 to 3 sections, and we run anywhere from 5 to 12 sections per term. So today when I'm referring to any of the examples of how we've used LaunchPad, they all are relating back to this one course that we've started here at the college. And so to kind of kick things off, why LaunchPad? About a year ago, maybe a little bit more than a year ago, we were looking for a solution to a problem that we were having. And so we were in a meeting with our book rep, just kind of getting a new version of our textbook, and faculty were concerned about how to get our students to engage with the material before coming to class. And I know this is a common problem that many of you can probably relate to, that we have very precious class time. And the more we can get them to read ahead of time, engage with the material, then we can spend more of our class time, in group discussion, working on critical thinking and sharing knowledge with one another. And so as a result of these conversations, Learning Curve, which is through LaunchPad, was shown to us as a way to present material to students to get them to interact with the material before class, and then hopefully lead more time for in-class discussion. And so Learning Curve was presented to our group, but then we had one overarching concern. We really like Learning Curve and the material, some of the other LaunchPad content we enjoyed as well. But we had a concern. We were worried about a barrier. So in this first year seminar course, transition course, we have them using Canvas as our LMS. Then we have a My Hawkeye page, which is kind of our student portal. And then we use some other websites as well. And we were concerned about adding one more website they had to log into, one more set of credentials, one other place they had to go to for content. And so we had that concern about it being a barrier. Then we were also concerned about the ease of setup for our faculty. We have a wide variety of folks who teach for us. We have some full-time faculty teaching this course, some full-time administrators like myself. We have some of our adjuncts who also work as tutors in our learning center teaching it. And so getting everyone set up easily was very much on our minds. And so that's when Brian and the staff showed us, well, this is something you don't need to be concerned about because of deep integration between LaunchPad and the Canvas LMS. So the deep integration is what actually kind of pushed us over into deciding to try out using LaunchPad for college success. And so what I'd like to go into first here, kind of as our first topic, is student registration and getting the students into LaunchPad. And so, we worked with our textbook rep on which book we were going to use, kind of how the code process worked. And so I've got two examples to share with you, kind of as ways if you're new to using this, maybe you're trying to figure out how you're going to get your students registered in LaunchPad. I've tried it two different ways. Over the summer, I piloted using LaunchPad. We only offer one section of the course over the summer. It's generally a smaller group of students. I had around a dozen. And so for the summer pilot, I had them log into LaunchPad for the first time in class. I used in-class time to have students get their codes out with their books, log into the website, use their code, create their accounts, partly because I was just curious. I was new to using this product. I wanted to see what the student experience was like. I'd gone through all the trainings and kind of had seen it up till that point, but I wanted to see how the students interacted with the website to see what went well and what concerns they may have getting into LaunchPad. I'm happy to say that we were able to get everybody in during that first class meeting. There really weren't any technical concerns that we had, so that it really worked out well for my summer students doing it in class. And so for some of you, that may be an option that you could have your students register during one of the first class meetings and do it in a classroom. Now, I did have the luxury of it also being a computer room, so that's one of the barriers that we faced for fall. So for fall, we ran about 15 sections of the course, about 500 students total, with 12 different instructors. And so we had a little bit more, figuring out to do in terms of how are we going to get all these students registered. Some classrooms have computers, some don't. And so what we did was we worked very closely with Brian, or I worked very closely with Brian, and we set up, I'm going to switch over to my course here. We set up in our modules tab in Canvas a way for students to get registered for LaunchPad. So in the modules tab, and as you'll see, I use the modules tab for pretty much everything in Canvas. I think it's a very clean layout. It's easy for students to see the content. And so we created a Start Here module. This was referenced in class, so we showed it to them in class on the first day. It was in the syllabus, letting students know, part of your grade for the course is going to be going into LaunchPad for College Success, getting your accounts linked together so you could complete the learning curve activities that we have assigned. And so we developed this module that students had access to right away. It showed the required materials for the course, and again, this was mirrored in the syllabus because we like them to see this as much as they can. So we had our ebook and our print text available, made sure to let them know that you need the codes, so if they were looking at used versions of the text. So that's always good to highlight with your students as well. And then down here at the bottom, we had our LaunchPad for College Success registration directions. And so Brian set up a link for us, so when students click on the LaunchPad home button, it takes them directly to the external website where they can enter in their code, create their student account, and then through the prompts, they connect their LaunchPad for College Success course with their course through Canvas. Now, the nice part is after they've done this, then they'd never have to go back to that external site directly again, which I'll show you here in a moment. As far as getting students registered for the LaunchPad in the fall, my 3 sections had really good results, and I know a lot of the other faculty did too. Any of the concerns that came up, we kind of found a lot of it had to do with they just hadn't purchased their books yet. You know, maybe there was a concern with their financial aid or getting a copy of it through the bookstore. Very few of the concerns for getting into LaunchPad had to do with the actual technology itself. I very much stayed hands-on with my students. I would log into my LaunchPad courses and keep an eye on the number of students who had signed in just by looking at the gradebook in LaunchPad. And then periodically throughout the week, I'd send out reminders to students saying, hey, it looks like about 2/3 of you have registered. Great job. For those who haven't, you know, let me know if you're having any questions. And then I would also reference in my email and outreach to the students and remind them that there's the technical support available. We had the 1-800 number as well as the live chat feature available to our students. And then by week 2, you know, it's a 1-day-a-week course, so 7 days later I saw them again. And I made sure at the beginning of class to just touch base with any of those students who had not yet signed up for LaunchPad. By the end of the 2nd week, I had everybody into LaunchPad for College Success. So it went very well. You know, a couple students I had to be more hands-on, you know, as you'll find. But for the vast majority of the students, they're very tech-savvy for the most part. They put the code in, they create their account. It really was a very slick process. And so that's kind of 2 different ways that you can look at it, you know, using class time to get students registered or creating the module. You know, as I'm showing here as an example, we're going to continue to use this module for our spring courses. Brian and I have already been setting up spring just because we like the idea of, you know, getting our students to do this outside of class and having them be responsible for getting into LaunchPad. And so while we're on the topic of getting students signed in, I want to transition to the single sign-in process and kind of how the gradebook works once you have your course integrated with LaunchPad. And so as I mentioned at the beginning, we really were focused on making sure there were no barriers for our students to get into the LaunchPad content. And so this kind of, that single sign-on was our, you know, solution to this, is that once students link their 2 courses together, they're not going to have to go to this external website directly again. They should be able to go to their Canvas course and be able to see all of the content through kind of a one-stop shop. We wanted everything in Canvas. And so going back to my modules tab here, I worked with Brian on creating a module that had all of the learning curve assignments. Instructors could use other content through LaunchPad if they wanted to, but for our first semester using this product, we were very much focused on the learning curve activities. And so we created a module so that way all of the activities are here. And when they see in our course schedule that an activity is due, so maybe why go to college that first week, they can go to this module and know that all of their homework's going to be right here. And so what happens is when they see in their syllabus or their calendar that they have an activity due, they go to the learning curve assignments and they'll click on an activity. So then this prompts them to load the learning curve assignment. And then the preview as a student. So this is what your students are going to see when they click on that tab in the modules. It takes them directly to the LaunchPad website, takes them directly to whatever activity you've assigned, and then they're able to complete the activity. While I'm here on Learning Curve, I'm just going to go through this here real briefly for those of you who are new to to this product. This is a learning curve. It's through the LaunchPad for College Success. And so students will do this before they come to class as kind of a supplement to the reading. There's a target score that we've set. So as students complete this activity and answer questions correctly, they're shooting for a target score that we've set at 300. And so it's going to ask questions regarding the topic. This one's why go to college? And it's going to present them a question with several choices for answer. So they can read through, and I'm just going to click on one here and submit answer, and it's going to either let them know that they have it correct or that they need to try again. In this case, I've answered incorrectly, and so I can go back and just pick another answer. Or what we encourage our students to do is to go down here to the Read ebook page on this topic, where it will pull up the content where they can find the answer to this question. And so it's a way to just reinforce the reading that we're asking them to do in order to help complete their assignments. And so they'll be able to continue going through here until they answer the question correctly, and then they'll be awarded a number of points. Each time they answer incorrectly, the number of points goes down. And so once they complete it, you'll see up here the little bar turned blue right there. And as it goes, it'll kind of just gauge them how far they need to go. And so they continue to go through this until they hit that target score. And then they can keep answering questions if they'd like. But once they hit the target score, it's going to let them know that they have completed the activity for learning curve and that they've met the requirement for that assignment. So learning curve, again, was why we went with LaunchPad content. We've enjoyed some of the other content in there as well and look forward to integrating with our courses. But we've been very happy with learning curve, and I look forward to any questions you have about this product or what we've thought of it using it with our students. So going back to the integration piece, once a student completes this activity, so I hit my target score of 300, it tells me I'm done and I'm good to go. What happens then is a score automatically gets recorded in the gradebook for LaunchPad, and then the grade gets sent back to your Canvas course. And so there's really nothing the student needs to do or you as the faculty member needs to do for grading these assignments. So I'm going to go back to my gradebook. This is our master course, so there's no student information in here, just my test student here. And so all of my learning curve activities are up here at the top. And they're, we set them as a score of 10, just, pick the number that we wanted to use. It's an all or nothing assessment. And so when a student completes their learning curve activity, that score will populate. And so it takes a lot of the work out of grading in terms of having to go to one website and then move the grades over or doing any manual work with grading, as it just gets sent straight to your Canvas gradebook. This is nice for the students because we know that we like to give immediate feedback or regular assessment as much as possible. But then also on the faculty side, this really cuts down on the amount of grading or time you're going to spend on grading because it's doing it for you. And so it really benefits the students in that feedback, and it benefits you as the instructor because that's going to free up a little bit of time each week that you're spending on grading. And so that single sign-on process and the gradebook sync, has been really slick for the students. It's led to very little confusion because they only have to go into Canvas. And instructor feedback has been very positive that the content through Learning Curve is, really well put together, and they've really enjoyed having the automatic grading through LaunchPad talking with Canvas. And so I'm going to switch back to my PowerPoint here real quick, just to go through a little bit more content here. And so I want to talk about how we set all this up. And so just, I think I've mentioned this before, we had around 15 sections in the fall, 12 instructors, 500 students. We wanted to make sure that we had kind of a baseline use of Learning Curve. This course, we have several learning objectives and topics that we want to cover, and so we wanted to make sure that Learning Curve was being used as a minimum through LaunchPad, and then we were going to encourage all the other content as well, but let the instructors know at minimum you need to use Learning Curve for this semester working with your students. And so we needed to create a way that we knew faculty were using Learning Curve and that we knew they had their courses integrated. We didn't want to assume they were going to figure this technology out. And so Brian and I worked very closely together on setting up 2 different master courses. We set up a Canvas master course, which I've been showing you a little bit, and I'm going to cover it here a little bit more in a minute. And then we've also set up a LaunchPad master course. So we went in and pre-assigned all of the Learning Curve activities and put due dates on them. And then for faculty, once we made copies of that master course, really all they had to do was move the due dates. So if I covered time management first and then went into note-taking, but another faculty member did them in the opposite order, all they had to do was change the due date and if they want to adjust what time it was due. So really for the faculty side, setup was very much done for them. They just had to go in and tweak the schedule just a little bit based on what order they wanted to move through the content. And so once we had these master courses set up, Brian made copies of all of the LaunchPad courses, and then we scheduled a couple of faculty training sessions to show them LaunchPad and the functionality, show them how Learning Curve work, and then in these sessions we sat down and had them make their Canvas copies and link them together. And so I'm going to go back to my Canvas course. This is this College Experience 108 master course that we set up. We went in and created most everything here in modules. I showed you the Start Here module and then our Learning Curve. And then we put in all of our original projects and assignments as well. We had a teacher handout section, and then Brian also provided us with videos on how to link our courses together, how to bring in graded and non-graded content, and then also a video if we were trying to help students get their courses registered so we could help them as well. And so we set all this up for our instructors. And then when we were together in the room doing the training, the first thing that we did was I created a Canvas export. And for those of you who've been using Canvas, you know you can create a Canvas export file, and I've exported this several times. And I just click Create Export, and it creates a file that you can email out to anybody who's wanting a copy of this course. So I sent that email out to the faculty who were sitting in the room. And then all they had to do was go into their settings in their College Experience course and click on Import. And they uploaded a Canvas export package. So they would import that file, it would go into Canvas, and once that process was completed, and it took maybe about 3 or 4 minutes, depending on if the system was lagging at all, but within that small amount of time, everybody in the room, all of our instructors, had the exact same copy of this course, but now in their section. So that's what we did on the Canvas side. And then on the LaunchPad side, we did something very similar. We went in for fall of 2016, created a master course. We went into the LaunchPad content and assigned all the assignments that we were planning to use. So, as I mentioned, we use the Learning Curve for fall. So we went and assigned point totals and due dates within all of these content areas. And so this was set up for the instructors. All they had to do was come back in then and change those due dates. And so this was then copied. Brian made all the copies for us for LaunchPad. I helped our faculty make all the copies of the Canvas Master course. And then in our training session, we were able to help the faculty create their LaunchPad accounts and then link them to their Canvas courses. And so it was a really slick process that most of the setup was done for them. All they had to do was make some copies of Canvas. And then for those of us who were teaching multiple sections, I had 3 sections, I just had to link that Canvas section to my LaunchPad course, and then everything was done for me besides just changing those due dates. And so for fall, here are my 3 sections. We set them up as independent courses here, and so I would just go into each one and change the due dates and the times based on when I was teaching. I've already started working on spring, so here's my spring course, and I'm trying something different out for spring. I've created what's called branches, and so my master course then feeds into these 2 branches that I'm teaching for spring, and so any changes that I make here in my master course, they then get fed down into the branches. I'm trying this out for spring to see which method I like better, if I like the branch method or making independent copies. So we'll see how spring goes and see which one's a little bit more user-friendly for me. And so I guess overall, sharing copies of these courses is very user-friendly, both within Canvas and within LaunchPad. I've gotten comfortable enough with this process that for all of our returning faculty for spring, I'm going to lead the training on it because I feel like I've gotten far enough with my knowledge of using Canvas and LaunchPad that I feel comfortable sitting down with our faculty to cover this material. So in about 2 weeks here, once we get past the holiday, we're going to sit down and get ourselves set up for spring. So I guess overall, we've had a really good experience using LaunchPad, and in particular using Learning Curve to meet the needs of our students. And if it hadn't been for the deep integration, that was kind of what pushed us over into going with this product, is that we could get these, we could get Canvas to talk to LaunchPad. It would, have the single sign-on, have the gradebook sync, all the content can be in one place, and we have just been thrilled with how well it's worked out for both our students and getting them to engage with the material before class, and the ease of setup with our faculty. Brian and the other technical staff that I've worked with have been wonderful. We're already working on getting spring set up and getting ready for another good semester here at the college. And just overall, I look forward to what questions and comments that you have on the product. I'm going to turn it over to Brian, who can talk a little bit more about the support that he offers.
Brian, I'm passing you the privileges. Just as a quick introduction, guys, the Brian that Nick refers to throughout his presentation is Brian Krutzel. He is one of our integration specialists. Part of our secret sauce, if you will, is that anyone that integrates works directly with an integration specialist. They don't call an 800 number and get anonymous tech support. There is tech support. But for integration, you're working with a specific person. That person's an expert in integration. They're an expert in the Macmillan media, and they can also help with pedagogical decisions. They don't pretend to be an expert in that. You, the teacher, really is more the expert in that, but they can make suggestions. And Brian's going to share a little bit about what he does, and then we're going to take questions. Brian, you should have control at this point.
Thanks, Scott. Thanks, Nick. I hope everybody can hear me. My name is Brian Krutzel, and I am a Canvas integration specialist with Macmillan. I've worked with Nick throughout all summer and this fall getting all these courses set up as beautifully as Nick has set them up and as flawlessly. And I just wanted to say that if you decide that you want to try something like this out in your courses, you would be working with either myself or my colleague Casey, who is also on the call. You never have to deal with a general phone number, and you always have a devoted person to work with. And we're not just tech support. We will actually work with you to help you accomplish the goals that you're trying to set in your online environments or face-to-face environments that are supplemented by online technology. So the support doesn't just stop once the course begins. We don't expect one person to be a coordinator for the rest of the faculty. I personally work with Nick as well as all of his adjuncts and full-timers that are teaching this courses. I'm regularly in contact with them, and I'm actually helping someone right now with some questions from Nick's team. But I hope to work with you in the future, and if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out to us.
Okay, thank you, Brian. We're going to move into the QA section. Please do chat any questions or comments, and we will definitely address those. The first ones we've had a couple of questions. One of them was about what is Learning Curve. Nick touched on it a little bit. I want to do a little more depth on that, but also there was another question about, is Learning Curve tech-specific? Are these quizzes tech-specific? Is the content in LaunchPad tech-specific? And I kind of want to try to kill two birds with one stone here. Again, as you saw earlier, this is Learning Curve, and as Nick had shown you, it is a series of questions the students are asked to answer, and if they answer them correctly, like I did here, I start to fill this bar at the top. Learning Curve is also adaptive. So and for the first half of this quiz, until I filled half my bar, the adaptive nature of this is strictly based on difficulty level. If I'm doing well on mid-level questions, I'll start to get harder ones, and those are worth slightly more points. If I'm struggling with harder questions, I'll get easier ones. At the midway point, since we're tracking the performance of the student throughout on these topics, the topics that they're not doing as well on, they're going to get more material from. So there's sort of two algorithms, if you will, running behind learning curve that allow it to be adaptive and allow it to sort of customize itself to the student's responses. And as you can see, I'm not doing so well on this. And I'll go back to my study plan, and apparently that was from the same spot. LaunchPad as a whole does offer a lot of content organized into units. This is just a sample LaunchPad. It happens to be for a biology book, but this is a very, all the LaunchPads are set up book specific with the ebook sections in here, with a learning curve quiz, with an end of chapter quiz, which is more of a summative quiz. Okay, actually I'll go to the student preview to show you what the summative quiz looks like. And all of these can be integrated easily into Canvas. So you can integrate this end of chapter quiz very easily into Canvas, and you can customize this end of chapter quiz. You can add your own questions. You can add additional questions from our test bank. Again, this is more of a summative quiz, and I'm going to leave it now. I'm not going to finish it, but I think everyone knows what a summative quiz looks like. That will feed into the Canvas gradebook as well. And of course, there are more robust interactive type of resources in here, things like tutorials and videos and animations. It depends on which book you're using, but there's always going to be additional resources as well. So hopefully that gives you a little more sense of what is in LaunchPad. And again, any of this stuff can be integrated into Canvas and report to the Canvas gradebook. Sorry, I'm using myself. How do you get grades from LaunchPad into Canvas is the question. Casey or Brian, I think I will let you take that one.
This is Casey Carroll. Brian and I work on the same team. The nice thing about integration with LaunchPad, as you noticed from Nick's course, the individual assignments have been integrated and brought over into Canvas. And once you integrate those assignments into Canvas, that allows the grades from LaunchPad for those assignments to sync up automatically with your Canvas gradebook. So if you have assignments in Canvas and you have assignments in LaunchPad and you want a one-stop shop for students to see their kind of total grade at any given time, deep integration will give you that ability to kind of have all of your grades in the Canvas gradebook on a daily basis.
Okay, we have another question. Are there any charges for training? Absolutely not. Faculty gets access to the software for free. Faculty gets as much training as they need. It's kind of like the support that we provide any adopter. It's sort of part of our business model, if you will. The training is absolutely free, and there is no charge or limit to the amount of training that you would need. Next question, can I do this integration? The question moved. Can I do this integration as an individual instructor? Does my entire department need to? If I do it as an individual, will I get the same support? Casey or Brian, I think I know the answer, but I'll let you, since you are the guys that handle it, answer it.
Yes, but most of the customers we work with are doing this on an individual basis, and they get the same level of support. One nice thing about some of the process that Nick showed is that if you're teaching multiple sections of one course, what he did to help set up his instructors, you can do as well to set up your other sections as well. So you don't have to go through the process of integrating each individual LaunchPad into each individual Canvas section as well. So some of the process is the same, but no matter if you're an individual instructor teaching 20 students or someone who's got a department-wide adoption of 1,000, you get the same level of support.
Thank you, Casey. Next question, does LaunchPad come with the book or does it cost the student an extra fee? I will take this one. LaunchPad is packaged at extra cost with a new book. So if the student buys a new book from the bookstore, it's a different ISBN than the book alone, but it doesn't add any cost to that text. There are also other purchasing options. The student can choose to just purchase LaunchPad Access directly. Since LaunchPad contains an ebook, they don't necessarily need a print text, and the price of the direct purchase is going to be about half to 60% of the price of a new book. So it's going to be cheaper than a used text is going to be at the bookstore, but it will be digital-only access. One really nice option is that every student can access LaunchPad for free for 21 days. So they have that 21-day grace period where they can decide, do I need to buy a text package or am I okay simply buying direct access? Also, if they're waiting on financial aid or they're waiting for a paycheck to come in or they're waiting for funds in any way, they don't have to wait in order to get access to the materials for your class. And in essence, it removes any excuse that they would have for not having class materials on the first day. Next question, is digital ebook access accessible ADA? We are working to make all of our materials accessible. We have what's called a VPAT on a LaunchPad by LaunchPad basis. For the materials, we're working with Reading with JAWS screen readers. Fortunately, I would need to know the specific title. The VPAT does vary a little bit from title to title still. We are working on standardizing that, and accessibility is a huge, huge priority for us going forward. When we do resources like videos, we close caption and provide a transcript. We're doing all that. When picking out colors, we try to take into account color blindness, which is actually a lot more common than I had thought before I got into this. So those are the kind of things that are very important to us. But on a title-by-title basis or a course-by-course basis, we can provide a VPAT to let you know how accessible each of the resources within LaunchPad is. Next question. Are there any physical anthropologies in LaunchPad? I probably shouldn't have read that out loud. There actually are not. I could have answered that to you. Sadly, we do not yet do anthropology. I have a question about, are the videos audio described or will be? They are closed captioned, and there is a transcript. I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with the term audio described, but the closed captioning, I believe, is what audio described would be. And a transcript is also available so that if someone cannot hear them, they can read along. Okay, someone's saying closed captions not the same. So I'm sorry, I don't know audio described, so I would have to get back to you on that. I apologize. I didn't mean to misspeak there. Other questions? How do you get grades from LaunchPad into Canvas? Brian and Casey, do you want to tackle that one?
I'm sorry, can you say that question again, Scott?
Absolutely. How do you get grades from LaunchPad into Canvas?
Oh, sure, thank you. So basically, the students will complete an activity, the LaunchPad assignment that'll be added to the Canvas course. That grade will be recorded in the LaunchPad gradebook, and there's something called an automatic grade sync that occurs roughly every hour or so, and any grades in the LaunchPad gradebook will be sent over to your Canvas gradebook. Like I said, that grade sync happens about every hour or so, so if you ever need to bring in your grades right away, for example, if your students just took an exam and those grades your students just want to see those grades right away, you can do something called a grade refresh, and that will bring that activity's grades in right away to Canvas.
just checking now to see if we have any more. I answered a question about English, about writing tools. Privately, I guess I can read it out loud. Does LaunchPad have writing tools? There is a product called Writer's Help that uses the LaunchPad shell that does have writing tools. We're also working on making the writing tools more robust within our systems. They're not available now, so I'm not going to get into it in any depth. But there is a product called Writer's Help that has the same integration as LaunchPad and does offer a number of writing tools. Ultimately, we would like to make the writing tools available within all LaunchPad. And can Writer's Help be integrated with Canvas? Yes, it can. I think that may be it. Are you guys seeing any other questions that I may be missing, Casey, Brian, any of the other panelists?
No, I think that covers everything. I'm looking through. I think that's them all. I think that's all of them.
I think so too. And if you have any specific questions, you can feel free to reach out to Brian and myself. Although Brian's email is up there, just ask Brian. That's fine with me. If you have any follow-up questions or interested in looking at LaunchPad and integrating LaunchPad for your spring or even fall courses.
Or Writer's Help, I think it bears repeating that Writer's Help is in the same system and does integrate in the same way. So either of those products, you need access to them. If you would like to work with Brian or find out more, please do not hesitate. Again, there is no charge for that, even if you're not an adopter. You know, we can show you everything you need to know while you're evaluating. We will be sending a follow-up with the recording of this and some hopefully useful links to y'all. Thank you so much, Nick. That was an excellent, comprehensive job. We appreciate you taking the time. We appreciate you all taking the time. Have a wonderful rest of the week and a wonderful holiday season, and we'll be in touch with a follow-up shortly.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, everybody.